Alright, I know most of you, but there are some new faces. So for those that don't know me, I'm Lee Nelson, and I have been working here at EC for over 10 years. Before I get started, I'm going to tell you all a little bit of a story of how I got started with this, with health and wellness. So it was a couple years ago, and they had a chiropractor here, similar to you guys, to what we had last week. He's giving a presentation. It was actually termed the same thing, how to be healthy your first 100 years. And in that presentation, pretty much everybody in the room except me was like, I don't even want to live to 100 years. Because you think of that as you get older, your quality of life goes down. And I was the only one in the room that was like, yeah, I want to live to 100 years, and I fully expect to, and I still did. But back then, I was not eating healthy. I was not exercising at all. I didn't do anything. And they had the screenings. I went up to the chiropractor, and he just looked at me, and he said, your neck is really crooked. So I started going to him, and the first thing that he did when I went there was he's like, bend over and touch your toes. And I couldn't do it. I was not flexible at all. So I started stretching every day. Every day. I started working out, lifting weights. I started eating right. And then it got to be from feeling okay to feeling great to feeling fantastic. And it's been an amazing change. And I've gotten to the point where I have a lot of knowledge now because I've been studying, and I've been, okay, how do I do this the healthiest? I went vegan last year for the whole year, and I'm still doing it. And I wanted to know, how do you do it the healthiest way? So I learned a lot while I'm doing it. And I've gotten to the point where I want to share this with other people. I want to say, hey, you don't have to be sick in the hospital in order to have the motivation to get well. And that's why I want to do this and talk a lot about motivation as well. But I want to go over the basics of it, and I want to tell you, I have two goals with this presentation to get to you guys. The first one is to come at it from a very positive perspective. I don't want to tell you, don't do this, don't do that, all the negatives. I want to tell you what's good to do. What are the things you want to look at, what you want to be doing. And you'll notice that as you do that, gradually you will cut out the bad things. It'll be a lot easier. You won't be even thinking about, oh, I can't have that. You'll be thinking, you'll have goals of, I want to do this. So you have goals to go towards. It'll make it a lot easier. And the second thing that I want to do is I want to show you what I have found to be the best. So what is kind of the pinnacle, or what is the ultimate goal of what I found so far? And that should, so that way, a lot of people say, well, this is not good, and this is a little bit better. Okay, it might be a little bit better, but if you know what is the best, then you have a direction to shoot for. You have a direction to go in. You have an ultimate goal. Yeah, that's the best. And I think that makes it a lot easier when you're trying to make decisions, when you're trying to decide what to do, because then you can say, out of all of these things, this one is closest to the best, closest to the goal. So that's my purpose. That's what I want to do today. So it's kind of hard for it to see probably, but I have some quotes at the bottom as well. So this one is, if your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. And that is by John Quincy Adams. So first we're going to talk about air and breathing, because you can go weeks without food, you can go days without water, but you can only go minutes without air. Air is extremely important. And especially if you are doing any kind of working out, you really know this, because that's the goal, is to get the oxygen to your blood, to your cells. The more oxygen you have in your system, in all parts of your system, the more alive you are. So air is extremely important. What are the ideals? What are the places with the best air? Is oceans and waterfalls. There's an interaction that goes on in oceans and waterfalls between the water when it's crashing and sunlight on the water that creates negative ions, negative charged ions. Negative charged ions are extremely important for your health. This is how the energy systems in your body, when you have negative charged ions, everything's flowing right, everything's good. When you have positive ions, they get clumped together, they get stagnant, they're not moving well. So that's why that's so important. And some of the things that you can do, because not everybody can live next to an ocean or a waterfall or go there all the time, but if you have the chance on your vacation, you know, you want to go to these places and feel the difference, really feel it. Go there and breathe the air. But in your house, you can get plants. There's a lot of really good plants, but even just having plants in general, because they will produce more oxygen in your house. Pink Himalayan salt lamps, they do negative charge ions. That's what they do. When that interaction, they put it off. You can open a window. Even during the wintertime, if you open a window for 5 minutes, it improves the quality of air in your house tremendously. The last thing is breathing practices. If you can practice breathing deeply to get more oxygen into your system, that helps a lot. And so I'll give you an example. Is when I started running and I started doing distance running, I got to a point to where I couldn't do it anymore. It was like 4.5 miles, and I was just, and it wasn't because of my legs. My legs were perfectly fine. It was because of my lungs, because I couldn't get enough oxygen through my system, that I was hitting a wall, hitting a point. So anything that you're doing, breathing practices are going to help with that. And even just relaxation, or just throughout your normal day, breathing is going to help a lot. So we're going to do a breathing practice right now. I'm going to show you one that's really simple. So what we're going to do, I'll tell you it first and then we'll all do it together. What we're going to do is breathe in really deeply, hold the breath for at least 2 counts, and then breathe out. So breathe in really deeply, hold it, now breathe out. And what that does is when you breathe in really deeply and hold it, the air that's inside your lungs circulates. So the stagnant air that's at the bottom will come out as you breathe out. And as you do that, if you breathe in really deeply and out, then the next breath is going to be more deeper. It'll compound on itself. So that's breathing, and I practice yoga, pranayama, a lot of breathing practices, and it helps with everything. So that's why breathing is first. Next, we're going to talk about hydration. And this is the next most important thing. So you want to think, what is the ideal water? The ideal water is fresh mountain spring water. That is the ideal. I went hiking in California in Mount Shasta, and there's a freshwater spring there at the top of the mountain. That was the best water I've ever tasted. If you get the chance to go to a mountain spring, do it. And there's a website called findaspring.com. If you go there, you can see springs around your area. There's not too many around here, but there are a few. And you can go get fresh spring water. The next best are some of the other ones is reverse osmosis, distilled water, filtered water, and then alkaline mineral water. And reverse osmosis and distilled water are going to be really clean waters. There's nothing in them. Everything that's taken out. So it's both the good and bad that's been taken out. But as long as your nutrition is okay, as long as you're eating a lot of vegetables, that's perfectly fine. You don't need the minerals in the water. So that's why those are so good. Because a lot of our water now, it is contaminated. We work in a lab, we know it's got all kinds of stuff in it. So you really want filtered or distilled water. Alkaline water is really important as well, especially if you're trying to heal from something. Because what happens is your body goes in an acidic state. When you're not eating healthy, when you're really stressed out, when you've got a lot of problems, and the normal pH balance of our body is actually slightly alkaline. So if you can get alkaline water or make alkaline water yourself by adding minerals, it's really good. It'll help you balance out. So I think a lot of you have heard this of 8 glasses of water a day is the recommendation. Well, what is a glass of water? They don't usually tell you that. It's 8 ounces. So 1 glass is 8 ounces. 8 glasses is 64 ounces, which is a half gallon, or 1.9 liters. So I want to give all these different measurements because we don't all use the same measurements. We work in a lab, we use liters. Most people are used to gallons or ounces, so that's why I want to put those up there. The people who are top, that are studying this right now, they are saying 3 liters is what you want. They're recommending even more water, which is 101 ounces or 0.8 of a gallon. For me, last month, I did a challenge to myself. I said, I'm going to drink a gallon every day. And this is from what my research, and from what I see, especially in the athletics field and people who are really active, which I'm very active, they're saying at least a gallon a day. And then also people who have a health issue. If you have a health issue, something you're trying to heal from, you want to drink more water as well. So what I'm saying is 1 gallon. And to illustrate that, I have 4 jars here. This is 1 gallon, these 4 jars together. And I like these because they have the measurements on the side. So you can tell how much you're drinking all day long. And that makes it really easy. When you have this and you have a goal, you know how much you're drinking. Because most people don't measure it. They don't even know how much they're drinking. And you may think you're drinking a lot, but measure it. Do it at least one day, figure it out, and you'll see that you're not drinking very much. And I like doing a challenge like this to say, I'm going to drink half a gallon a day or a gallon a day, because by doing that, you'll find that you cut out your sodas, you cut out the junk that you're drinking without being restricted. So you're not saying, oh, I can't have this, I can't have that. When you drink the water, then you don't even want it. When you are thirsty, you're already dehydrated. And then you go and grab a soda and you're going to get more dehydrated. That's not going to help. You need the water. So water is very important. And the quote that I have on the bottom is, "Water is the driver of nature." That's by Leonardo da Vinci. So next we're going to talk about nutrition. And I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on nutrition today because everybody's at different levels. And so it's really hard to do this with nutrition. And also I could spend a whole lecture just on nutrition. So, but what I want to do is, what is the best? What is the pinnacle, the goal for nutrition? You want whole foods, fresh foods, organic foods, local foods. So that is the goal, the best of the best. But you're not always going to get that. When you go to the grocery store and you want a head of lettuce, and you look at the organic lettuce and it's molted and wilted, that's not what you want. You want the fresh. So you'll go and get fresh lettuce even if it's not organic. So really the goal that I want to put across to you is eat less processed foods and more whole foods. And by doing that, no matter where you're at, no matter what your nutrition is, and everybody's going to have a little bit different, everybody has different needs. But the more you go to whole foods rather than processed foods, the better it's going to be. And so, for example, we have a CSA here. That's the best of everything, that CSA, because they're local, they're fresh. They pick it that morning before you get the box. It's super fresh. And it's cheap too, the whole box. If you work it out, they'll work with your finances if you can't pay for it all at once. But when you work it out, it's $20 a box for a huge box. You can't get that much food at the grocery store for $20. But the one part of this is when you eat more whole foods, you're going to cook more. So there is some more time. But you have to say, is this priority? You have to make it a priority for you. Or is it a priority to be healthy? To have good nutrition in your goals and what you're doing in your life? When you are healthy and have good nutrition, it makes everything else better. So for me, I make it a priority. I say, yes, I'm going to spend the time, I'm going to make my meals, I'm going to prepare. Being prepared is the best part of this. If you prepare ahead of time, if you bring snacks, just bring fruits to work, because that's easy. Bananas, oranges, you don't really have to make anything. But when you're prepared and you bring your things to work or wherever you're going, then you have that healthy food already. You don't have to say, okay, where do I have to go to eat, or what am I going to do? I'm hungry. So being prepared is really the main thing. And you can prepare your food ahead of time on the weekend. One thing I like to do is before I go to sleep that night, I'll prepare my breakfast for the next morning. So when you get up, for me, when I get up, I'm hungry in the morning. I want to eat. And it makes it a lot easier that way. So the quote that I have on the bottom is, "Let food be thy medicine, and medicine be thy food." That's from Hippocrates. So we'll move on. The next thing is sleep. The recommendation for sleep is 6 to 9 hours. And what I've noticed with sleep is that all of the other things that I'm talking about, if you do these other things and you start to improve on them, it's going to make your sleep better. So if your sleep is not good, instead of focusing on sleep or trying to get more sleep, change some other things and see if that doesn't help your sleep. So one of the things about sleep, though, that I do want to say is if you are very athletic or very active, you will need more sleep. And again, if you have a health issue, something you're trying to heal, you'll need more sleep as well. But if you're kind of in the middle, and especially if everything else is good, if you have good nutrition and everything else, you won't need as much sleep. You'll sleep 6 to 7 hours and you'll pop up and be like, okay, I'm ready to go. So, but one of the things that we have with sleep is that we want to wake up earlier and go to sleep earlier most of the time. It makes things a lot easier to get done. So if you want to wake up earlier, have a goal, something you want to do. So when you wake up, you're like, yeah, I want to do that. I want to get up and get started and have this goal to achieve. And once you make it a habit, it does get easier. When you first start, you might have to make yourself get up and just be like, I have to do it. It'll get easier, keep doing it, and you'll get in a routine, And you'll notice that you'll start to wake up earlier. You'll start to wake up before your alarm goes off even, once it becomes a routine. And the quote that I have here is, "Sleep is the golden chain that ties health and our bodies together," by Thomas Dekker. And that really, they really do go together. So when you improve everything else, your sleep improves. When your sleep is really good, everything else improves. You will heal from whatever you're dealing with. So exercise. What's the best exercise? The one that you will do, really. So find something you enjoy, and that will make it so much better. Now, NASA did a study. They wanted to figure out what is the best exercise. What they found is the rebounder. They recommended the rebounder as the best exercise. The rebounder is a small personal trampoline. So you get on it, you bounce up and down. It's a lot of fun. But what it does is the lymph in your body. When you're moving, you're bouncing up and down, the lymph moves in your body. The lymph does not have a circulatory system like your blood does. Your blood circulates and moves around. The lymph does not. If you don't exercise, if you don't move around, that lymph stagnates. It just sits there. It doesn't move. So you have to move. Any exercise you do will move it, but the rebounder, that action of jumping, bouncing up and down, really moves it really well. And so it just helps with everything. It helps your excretions, your elimination system. It helps with healing. It helps, everything is improved when your lymph is good and moving. So just regular walking, dancing. There's something new that's called intuitive movement. It's actually something old, but it's coming back. It's just moving. So you set like a 15-minute window and you say, what does my body want to do? How do I want to move? You might stretch, you might walk, you just say, how do I want to move? What do I feel like doing? And it's very, very intuitive. I actually do intuitive movement within my Tai Chi. So when I'm doing Tai Chi, it's what I call is freestyle Tai Chi. So you just do the Tai Chi movements, but you do them, you make it up as you go. You say, how does my body want to move? It's very intuitive, it's a fluid movement. And I think it's really great because it's not like I have to do this. And it's not, a lot of times when you're following an instructor, you're so caught up in, I want to look like them, I want to move exactly like them, I've got to do this the exact right way, but we're all different. Our bodies are different, they're all made different, and when you do intuitive movement, you're moving your own body the way it wants to be moved. And that's why I do it in Tai Chi, because especially in Tai Chi, we get so caught up in the form. You got to be the certain way, the certain form to have. But when you do it intuitively, you're doing your own thing. You're expressing yourself. So that, and I'm really glad that it's making a comeback. I hope you'll start to see this more. And so also yoga and Tai Chi, two things that I do that I've been practicing a lot and I've started teaching now. And really, the best part of these is they combine mind, body, and breath. So it's everything together. And you'll notice how your body moves while you're breathing, while you're moving, and then you'll have meditation practices with this. So you'll have your mind. What is your mind doing? What are you thinking? Can you slow it down? Can you stop thinking? Can you observe your thoughts? Are you your thoughts? Can you observe them? And you get into all of these really deep things with yoga and Tai Chi. And especially when you connect the breath, the body, and the mind together, it's very powerful. It's very healing. Weightlifting is great, especially as you age. As you get older, you want to be lifting weights. It's really good when you're younger too, you get started, but especially as you age, because as you age, your bone mass goes down. Lifting weights is going to improve your bone mass. So it's really great for that. Yeah, it also helps with your muscle structure, just everything is good. Interval training is really good for your circulatory system, your heart, your lungs. I prefer interval training over just regular cardio. It does a lot better. It's a lot of fun. I think it's more fun than just going out and running, even though I do long distance running too. So the quote that I have on this one is, physical fitness is not only one of the most important keys to a healthy body, it is the basis of dynamic and creative intellectual activity. And that is by John F. Kennedy. And he is putting that together, that the mind, body, and breath go together. That's what he's talking about. While we're on this, the topic of yoga, I have some free classes to give away. So is there anybody who does yoga or who wants to try it? Yeah? Anybody else? Yeah? So it's free classes at Unity, which is in Mount Gilead, Providence, behind the Cracker Barrel. And they are fantastic. I go there a lot. And I'm actually going to be doing a Tai Chi workshop there pretty soon. So, yeah. Next, we're going to talk about sunlight. Something we don't often talk about, but it is essential. This is something that you need. You need it for vitamin D, but it's also for your mood. It's really great for your mood as well. So the recommendation is 10 to 15 minutes a day. That's, the best. Of course, you're not going to get that, especially in the winter. We're all inside. We got to work inside. One good thing to know about this is that you can, like on the weekend, you can go and get 3 hours, and that will cover you through the week. Your body stores the vitamin D very well. But some of the other things that you can do, you can get supplements, you can get patches. I kind of like the patches because they go on your skin and it's absorbed through the skin, so it's similar to sunlight. The tanning booths, if you go, they have UVB beds. The UVB is what gives you the vitamin D from the sunlight. I don't know if it's good long term, but I do know people that have done it and they have tested their levels, and their levels are increased after doing it, their vitamin D levels. One cool thing about sunlight is it kills viruses. And so I think it's really important, if you are sick or starting to feel sick, spend some time in the sun. Go out and get some sunlight. And it's on direct contact, so if it's something inside, it's not going to get it. But overall, it makes you feel better when you get in the sun. So the quote that I have is, "Turn your face to the sun and the shadows fall behind you." That is a Maori proverb. Now we're going to talk about motivation. Who in here likes math? Anybody? No? Okay, well you're going to like math now, because I have 2 equations that are going to help you with motivation. The first one is desire times knowledge equals motivation. This is from Douglas Graham. So when you have a multiplication problem, if there's a 0 in the problem, it's going to equal 0. If you have desire, somebody that's in the hospital, they're terminally ill, they have the desire to get healthy, but if they have no knowledge, they're not going to. They're not going to. Now, all of us have the internet. We have tons of knowledge. But if you have no desire, there's going to be no motivation. So this is why it's a multiplication table. But the cool thing about this is the more you have of each, they multiply by each other. And this is how you get motivation. But the important thing is to know what are your desires? What are they? What motivates you? What's going to get you going? And it's going to be different for everybody. Everybody's going to have different desires. So the other equation that I have here is one that I've learned recently that is from metaphysics, is goal plus purpose plus activity equals success. So when you know your desire, which is your purpose, what is the goal? So what is the goal for you? Is it to be healthy? Why do you want to be healthy? What is the purpose? Do you want to see your kids grow up and get married? Do you want to, what do you want to do? What are your goals and why? Think about why. So that's going to get here. And then the activity, what's going to achieve that goal. So that's really, it's pretty simple, but it's something that you go through your life and you don't think about this. A lot of times you're on autopilot and you're just doing stuff. If you think about it, you think, why am I doing this? What is the goal of this? And it changes what you're doing. So then you're like, just even washing the dishes. So what is the goal is to have clean dishes. Why are you doing it? You might be doing it so you don't have to do it later because it gets worse if you leave it in the sink. Everybody might have different reasons for doing it, for why they're doing it. But it's important to be aware of this, to think about it, because this is going to help with your motivation. So I'm going to tell you how to do this to make it work for you. So what you want to do is you want to make a list of your desires. Do as many as you can, but at least like around 10 of them. So you have your desires, what really gets you going. So, and it takes a while because when you start doing this, you'll probably have goals on your list. So I start out, for example, I want to be a yoga teacher, a yoga instructor. Well, that's more of a goal, that's not a desire. Why do I want to do that? I want to help people, that's my desire. That's why I want to do it. That's why I'm here doing this for you. This is my desire. So once you get that, you really have a reason, a purpose. And then you can look at your desire and make goals for it. Make activities. How do I get there? How do I reach this goal to get that desire, to really have that feeling? And it's important to do this, to make this list. And the reason why I say that is when you get, when you go out to eat and you say, okay, I'm going to eat this, does it match your desire? Is that going to get you what you want? Every time that you're tempted to do something, take out your list and look at it. Is it going to get me these things? And so that will help you, because you'll be like, no, not really, it's not going to. But every once in a while, sometimes you're going out with friends. If one of your desires is to be happy, then yeah, you're going to eat whatever and just be happy and have fun. So it depends a little bit. You got to look at it in different ways. But that really is going to help you with motivation. Because once you have very set goals and you know why you want those goals, you have the desire, then you will be more motivated to stick with it. Does that make sense? Yeah. Good. And the quote that I have here is, human behavior flows from three main sources: desire, emotion, and knowledge. That's from Plato. So, and then you can go back, and once you have your desires and your goals, get some more knowledge. So you can research it. You can, when you have a quality that you want, look around you, see people who embody that quality, and go and ask them, how did you become this way? How did you do this? And then you'll get first-hand knowledge, which is, I think, a lot better than just going and Googling, because you don't know if that's really true or not. And then experiment. Do it with yourself. Make a challenge. Challenge yourself. Say, hey, I'm going to do this. do it and see if it works or not. And you got to do it. Most challenges, I would say, do them at least a month. 21 days is the cycle to get a new habit started. If you do it for a month, you really know if it's going to work or not. And then it's easier to keep it, whatever it is, whatever you want to do. If it is something that you do daily, it's easier to keep it that way. Some challenges, some things that you put on your list, you're going to do them and then, okay, that's it, I'm done, I did it. Now you put something else on the list. So it's always changing, it's always evolving. We change as people, we all change. We're going to have different motivations as we progress, and that's good. So, is there any questions about what I went over? Everybody's good, has a little bit more knowledge now. All right, that's it. Thank you.